It reminds me of McDonald's. McDonald's actually had a 90% stake in Chipotle.
Wow.
They got Chipotle going in like 98, I think it was. Chipotle got up to several hundred stores, and then McDonald's just made a decision to kind of streamline and just focus on McDonald's. So they sold all that off, and then, over the next couple, 15 years, Chipotle had 1,800 stores and, a thriving brand. And there's people that are mad at McDonald's, some of their long-term shareholders and everything. Like, why did you guys do something so stupid?
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of Own the Exit. Yeah, this is Caleb. I'm your co-host. I'm here in the studio with Aaron. Aaron, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, Caleb?
Yeah,
Good to be with you guys all today.
Come on. Hey, we went on a couple of weeks hiatus from you. I was traveling for the holidays. Aaron was also busy for the holidays. So we hope everybody,
family, eating food, enjoying Christmas.
100%. Yeah, we went to North Carolina. That's where my family's originally from, and that's where we went visit. Stayed a couple weeks there. So yeah. So we're excited about this episode today. Honestly, Aaron, I was reading this article. I don't know, a couple weeks ago about Xerox. And I didn't know this. Maybe I'm kind of new to the knowledge. There's people out there, this is not new information. But Xerox in the 1970s actually invented the modern computer interface. They actually
I did not know that.
Yeah, they sat on the technology. Their copiers and, that kind of stuff was their main thing. But
wow.
They, and the reason I was really compelled, or I guess what was compelling to me about that article was they were talking about how if Xerox's leadership had taken advantage of that new technology and kind of continued to develop it, then literally, I could have been reading that article on an X phone rather than an iPhone, right? Because the gap that, that market share that was taken by Apple and Microsoft could have been majority owned by Xerox. They had all the technology, but there was short-sightedness in their leadership to double down on, copiers that had been their bread and butter and would continue to build a decent business for them and a great business, right? Successful company for decades. But, but man, imagine if they had not had that short-sightedness. And so when I was thinking about that, I was like, oh man, it'd be a great episode, something to talk about, because the entrepreneurs that we're hanging out with on this episode, right? These are folks that are building businesses with the end in mind. And so having the ability to maintain the visionary element of your entrepreneurial leadership, right? Like, is so important. And how when you get to a certain point in your journey, you can lose sight of that visionary component and just fall into maintenance mode. And it can actually cost you so much in terms of, for Xerox, literally trillions of dollars is what it costs them to kind of fall into that. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit and how, Aaron, I'd love for you to, I don't know, start by how do you think we can maintain, a long-term vision while still, maintaining focus on the things that we're doing now, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. I mean, I think it would be hard to see at the time too, right? Like what that technology could be, and especially if you have a successful track record and you just kind of want to just keep staying in your lane and doing what you're doing. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's lack of that bringing on new people to build that out. I mean, obviously Xerox has huge resources, but maybe they just strategically wanted to focus. It reminds me of McDonald's. McDonald's actually had a 90% stake in Chipotle.
Wow.
They got Chipotle going in like 98, I think it was. Chipotle got up to several hundred stores, and then McDonald's just made a decision to kind of streamline and just focus on McDonald's. So they sold all that off, and then, over the next couple, 15 years, Chipotle had 1,800 stores and, a thriving brand. And there's people that are mad at McDonald's, some of their long-term shareholders and everything. Like, why did you guys do something so stupid? When you own 90% of Chipotle, and I was just reading, there were differences in the culture. There's differences in how they do food. McDonald's wanted to rename Chipotle. They want to do drive-thrus. They want to do breakfast. And it was just like, there was just a little bit of a clash. And so then they kind of decided to part ways. But but it's kind of hard to see at the time, because
Right.
McDonald's had a stake in some other brands and different things that you probably don't know about today because they never succeed. So how did they know
Right. How
Chipotle
did you know
would
Chipotle was
be
going to
the
be the one idea that?
yeah, and especially with like the health conscious,
Oh yeah.
a movement and all that, and then McDonald's, their brand has gotten tarnished,
Yeah.
taking some hits, and they're still number
Yeah.
one somehow, but
Yeah. But they're
it-
not gaining
they're-
market share
no.
at nearly the pace of even a Chipotle or a Chick-fil-A. I mean,
Chick-fil-A has a rapid expansion. They're gaining ground on McDonald's, and they're a privately owned
yeah.
company. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just really hard to see that, and you almost don't
Yeah.
blame McDonald's. You're like, well, you guys are just streaming because they've tried different menu items. Like there was like the ribeye sandwich or something, and like
The
that was
McRib, bro.
thing was bad.
Dude, the McRib was a classic, dude.
There was you
Come
remember
on.
the pizza?
The
Personal
McDonald's had a pizza?
Yeah, they had a
That's
pizza.
crazy.
No, it was 4 pieces. It was like a little, tiny little. It's like a kid's pizza.
I've thrown down some McRibs in my day.
That's
but
not where
I
I think.
never
That's
had
not
a-
where I go when I want ribs.
Yeah, no, it's not. And in hindsight now, like I would never eat a McRib, but back
Yeah.
in the day, I'd throw down a McRib.
But they tried all kinds of different things. They're always experimenting, and a lot of them didn't work, right? It was the Big Mac, the Quarter Pounder, their fries. Those are like the staple items. So
Of course.
So I could see when they start getting into like, these other,
Right.
I don't know. It's hard.
So it's like copiers and quarter pounders potentially cost Xerox and McDonald's trillions. That's what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
Because they got so fixated, I think, and that I understand. Focusing. Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot. Like entrepreneurs on the come up. Like you need to put all your focus and effort into the one thing, and then until that thing's overflowing into other things. And I feel like what happened with Xerox and what happened with McDonald's is they were overflowing, but they chose to not place other cups around that overflowing cup. You know what I mean? They chose instead to double down on the thing that had just always worked. And it's almost like you feel like they sort of fell into a maintenance mode, and then you see the outcome. I mean, is McDonald's is definitely in a growth decline, even though they're still the biggest.
Yeah.
They're definitely in a growth decline. Xerox for sure, right? Like, I mean, when's the last time you saw a Xerox machine? You know what I mean? So like, that's I guess the lesson is you've got to know that it's important, no matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, building a business, that don't ever lose that visionary component. Don't ever lose that visionary, I'm excited about the future, and fall into that maintenance mode, and whatever you can do to keep, because when you're building a successful company, one that, you can step back from and watch it thrive and enter into that freedom lifestyle that you built it for in the first place. When you're doing that, like the thing that motivated you the most is the idea of accomplishing something that you'd never done before, or building something, or that visionary component. And I feel like when you fall into complacency, then your growth potential is massively like stunted. Right.
Well, especially when if you're McDonald's and you have like you said, the resources, you've already kind of conquered that niche.
Yeah.
You have a few $1,000,000 to throw over here, or 50 million,
Right.
where you could get some of those side things going, where it would have made sense to do that. Like I know, that, they did that at Microsoft, where when Bill Gates was getting that going, he took money and just gave it to people on his team to just create startups within tech, because they saw the power of the internet. Things like Zillow, Expedia, Glassdoor, some of his team members built that stuff out and founded that stuff, and he just kind of resourced them, because he was, even though that wasn't their main product, he just was a visionary in that sense of seeing clearly, the power of, same as the Amazon guy, right? Jeff, Bezos was like, he saw like I've watched interviews with him where it was like as clear as day, like to him. And people were like, they didn't know what the internet was. Like, they didn't understand it. There's some like jokes too, where he's like saying, they're like, it's just, they're completely like clueless as to, like, why am I going to go type on this box and send somebody a letter?
Yeah.
Like
when I could just sit down and write it with my quill. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what?
So,
Oh, it's funny. Like,
but some people have that vision. So it's a combination of that, but then also having the resources to execute it. And, you know, I think that there's times when you do see that, but you just choose not to.
yeah,
Because it's like, and I
Yeah.
think as an entrepreneur, you can, especially when you're newer or starting, or you're just like, you can get too scattered,
Mhm.
you know, and
Yeah.
it's like shiny object syndrome.
Oh
Where
yeah,
there's always a new. I have people texting me. I just had a guy text me 2 days ago, and he's like, "Dude, I got this business opportunity." I'm just like, I don't even want to. And it's probably
yeah.
could be valid,
It's probably it may be
but
legit.
you know, maybe
I
not.
get those texts sometimes, and it's not legit.
Yeah, yeah.
You
You
know.
get like the Saudi Arabian prince like
Oh yeah, yeah.
emails.
Invest in my diamond mine.
Yeah, diamond mines
You
are
know.
not, those things
Yeah.
are gonna blow up, man.
One of these days,
Gotta get in on that.
somebody's gonna be a billionaire off of diamond mines. One of these days.
But I think it's just hard. Look, hindsight's it's so easy to look back. Like, why
Yeah.
didn't we all buy 10,000
Right.
Bitcoin in 2011? Right
Yeah.
when I had a friend that was telling me about it,
100%.
and I was going, I don't even know. It's just-
Bitcoin. Why would somebody? Yeah.
where it's there's
Digital-
always something,
yeah.
right? Even
Totally.
even within real estate, it's like that's even something that's more easy to see.
Mhm.
Like, because there's that
It's
long
tangible.
history, it's tangible, it's proven, and then you go through these down. Why aren't we all buying a lot when the
Mhm.
markets are down, right? Like, or like, why
Yeah.
didn't we all buy more in 2010 or you know during
Yeah.
this
Which the
whole
truth
last
is
run
even
we
in,
had,
like-
right? But it's just hard to.
Yeah.
We might not have resources, so we just can't, right? Because there's only so much you can do. But then
Yeah.
also like. It's fear or it's uncertainty or it's like just vagueness. And like, it's so easy to look back though and
Right.
have this conversation.
Real estate maybe is a little different because I've never met the guy that said, "Man, I'm glad I waited to today to buy instead of buying 5 years ago."
Yeah.
Like most of the like I've
Uh-huh.
not met that. Like usually it's like unless 5 years ago fell on like the 2008 crash, which still would have been like you still would have been getting a better deal, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
but-
we all know people that have been like, oh, I'll just keep
Yeah.
renting, you know, until
till the market comes down.
and now it's
till houses are
tougher
cheaper
now. For
Yeah.
them.
For sure. So how do we? I guess the core question is how do we stay open to new ideas while still focusing on the success that we've experienced and the things that have gotten us there? And I think that's, you know, rather than providing a whole bunch of answers on this episode, I think it's just provoking the question. That's
Yeah.
really the most important thing. You know, for y'all as our listeners. Make sure that you don't lose the part of entrepreneurship that got you excited about it in the first place, and that's the visionary component, right? Because there is a lot of conversation about just grunt and grind for 10 years on the same thing and repeat it over and over and over again, and you'll be successful. And there is some truth to that. But you may miss opportunities by never like lifting your head from the grunt and the grind and paying attention to what other opportunities. I think the reason the Xerox story was so compelling for me is it was actually a product of what they did.
It was their technology.
It was their technology. They created it as part of their company, but they just didn't implement. They didn't put the focus in implementing it because they were so focused on the cash flow and copier, right? Like that they didn't see the full blown money printing machine called the computer that could have created trillions of dollars and radically transformed the world the way that Apple and Microsoft did. And so,
That's a good. Another thought too on that is just with our changing society, right? With technology and how it feeds on itself, and the rate at which technology grows compounds.
Yeah, 100%.
And I can't remember the equation, but it doubles and it shortens, right? Like on a compounding scale. So that's why we're seeing, you know, even 5 years from now, we're going to see more than we saw in the last 15 and continuing on that way. And so it's like, how do you capitalize on that? You know, and it can be hard because you're always, unless you're in that field or that's kind of how you're wired, like to always be changing and always be thinking, you know, but it's just something that's just the world we live in.
Totally.
And there's could be opportunities in there, but there's something to be said to just like doing that proven and true. I'm thinking of like the founders of MailChimp.
Yeah.
They did it. They founded that company and they ran that company for like 15 years. And they're both billionaires now. They sold it, but that was the only thing they did.
Yeah,
was just built MailChimp. You know,
MailChimp.
the guy, one of the guys, he basically was like, man, now that I sold my company, like I'm going on bike rides again. Like I didn't even have a life for like
15 years.
15, 20 years.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I actually had hobbies. Like I didn't know I had any anymore, and he's only like 45 or something. So he's super young, but so he has, but he just committed that period of his life to have that tunnel vision. But
100%.
So it's just hard to, there's
Totally.
no formula, but it provokes a question for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So the takeaway for you, our listener, ask the question: visionary leadership and focusing on what you do. How do you find the balance? Focusing on your day-to-day operations of your business, building that. I think it's going to take visionary leadership in order to get to that place where you can create that growing distance in your active involvement in your business. So we're going to sign off for today. Thanks for listening to another episode of Own the Exit. If you enjoyed this episode or have listened to other episodes and have enjoyed them, please consider sharing this with someone else that you think would like to hear it. And go ahead and leave us a review. It's the only way that we can reach more people with the message of Own the Exit. Thanks again. Have a good one.
Thanks.